Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the channel. So what today we're going to be doing is a shell removal and cleaning of my newly purchased 2026, and this is the earlier model with the nickel rimmed wheels and the handrails on it, so it's got a few more finer details. So this one is in excellent shape as far as I'm concerned, because it's all there and no little bent stairs or missing marker lights or anything like that. So I'm really happy with this purchase, and it looks solid. The one thing that kind of got me was having this headlight wire coming out of the bottom of the pickup cover plate shoe thing or whatever. And I thought maybe that was some kind of a hack job fix. But according to the Greenberg book, this is factory, which I think is pretty cool. As you can see, there's an alternate headlight lead that comes down through the cover to the collector shoe. And that's exactly what that is, because there is a proper hole in this piece here. So I think that's really neat. And what I'm going to try to do is, I see that someone has spliced together that wire under there. And if it's not too much trouble, I think I'm going to put a fresh wire on it. But I have this extra piece of cloth insulation, and just to kind of keep the look original, which really isn't a big concern of mine, but I don't know, this time I think it'll be neat to maintain it. I'm going to slip this over the new replacement wire and kind of make it look like it was original again. So first thing we're going to do, like I do with all the locomotives when I first get them, is we're going to take the shell off. We're going to check the armature and the commutator. We're going to look at the brushes. We'll check the bearing plate. We'll have a look at the wheels, clean it all up. This one has a smoke unit, which we're going to have a look at as well, just to see if it's in good shape. And then once that's all done, we can throw her on the tracks and see how it runs. Boom, done. And also these two, this boiler, as I said, it shares it with the 1666. The boiler is one piece. This whole front steam chest piece is another separate one. So it's 1, 2, motor chassis, and that's it there. So let's also start taking out the front trucks. So we need a slot screwdriver for that. This one also is going to have an old style plunger mechanism for the smoke unit. It's actually kind of not really, it's not attached to the frame, but it pivots there instead of being knocked around by this arm here. So there's the light. That's pretty cool. That is one heck of a splice job on it. Maybe if this isn't too bad itself, maybe I can just slip that over. I don't know. We'll have a look at it. So anyways, we got that out. Now the steam chest is these two screws here. You pull those out, and the steam chest will come off. And they're a bit bigger slot screwdriver. Not quite that big, though. So this one, if you'd seen the unboxing video, which I'll post up here, somewhere up in here. This one came with a 1666, came together, package deal kind of thing. The 1666 was fantastic. That worked out great. So we got to take out this back body pin on here, and I'm going to be very careful with that because it hasn't been removed before, and there's no scratches on it. So I'd like to keep it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock the pin, because there is like a knurled edge, which is on this side. So I'm going to knock it through so the knurled edge comes out the short end. So I'm not pushing it all the way through the body, which is actually kind of difficult. And if you've ever decided to give it a whirl yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I use this screwdriver because it's just slightly smaller than the shaft itself, so it fits the hole nicely. And I'm just going to get a little ball peen and just lightly tap it. It doesn't need a lot to knock it out. As you can see, it already has come through. So I can probably finish this off by hand. Or not. Nope, still going to take a little bit of a tapping here. There we go. Just pull it out the other side, and that's that. So now we can work on the arms. We can take them out. So we're going to rotate this wheel down. Get this hammer out of the way. And I'm going to get my giant wrenches that just drives people nuts for some reason. And we are going to undo this nut from the wheel. There they are. There we go. So I have the 2018 or 2018 model of this, which is a later model, and it does not have magnet traction. This one doesn't have magnet traction either. But what I do like about it is it's got these extra little details. It's got the handrail on it. It's got this other second arm. The 2018 does not have that. The 2037 does not have that either. So what we're going to do, can we lift this out? No, I think we gotta, let's take the rear truck off then. The one with magnet traction is actually the 2037. Okay, so there's our motor. Here's one of our pieces there. Now this is in fantastic shape. Like, this is clean. This is really clean. I have seen so much worse of these. So they have redirected the headlight from the collector plate. And usually the headlight comes off of this tab on the E unit, but they're using that one exclusively, looks like, for the smoke unit. And this is the old pellet type smoke unit. If this one works, I'm just going to leave it, because I know you can actually use the liquid smoke on the pellet types. This is what I use, and it's absolutely fine. It's not going to damage it at all. That's providing it's not already pre-damaged. But this one is really clean. Usually when you open these up, this is all covered, caked in white. And it's just the residue from the smoke pellets. It's like a waxy, crystally. You can see some of it down here at the bottom. Just that stuff there. And it's just sitting there. It's not really causing any problems. But it can plug up the air hole that's in here that the plunger pushes up and gives the puffing effect. The problem with this is this has been in here a very long time, clearly. And I don't know that I want to mess with it too much to try to get it out, because I could just end up damaging a possible working smoke unit. It's sealed in there pretty good. So someone has been taking care of this. They have been cleaning it. So I'm just going to assume, pretend I've checked it. Yep. And to say that that's good, and it's going to puff air through it, so I'm not going to bother with it. So right now what I'm going to address, let's get to the easy stuff first. I'm going to take the plate off for the armature, the brush plate, and have a look in there and see what we got. But I can already tell you it's looking a heck of a lot better than what they usually do. That is not bad at all. Okay, if you guys can see that, it's got a little bit of the carbon on it, but that is really good shape. The other thing you want to do is you want to clean out the slots in between these copper plates, and I use this flosser because it has a nice soft plastic end that fits beautifully in there. Just kind of work it around and knock anything loose out. Give it a blow. That's done. So one thing I want to do, is first we look at the brushes here. So it looks like there might be a little bit of oil on them, so I'm just going to wipe that off. Next, I'm going to send a Q-tip down into where the brush is actually sat and give that a bit of a spin. I mean, once again, that's looking pretty clean, so I'm not going to be too worried about it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this Q-tip with a little bit of contact cleaner, just to help it along, just like that. Just drop that in there, give it a little bit of a spin. See what comes out. That is not bad at all. Not at all. That twist, that's looking good. I'm going to wipe off the excess oil here on this. So I don't want oil on the actual commutator or armature itself. But I am going to drop some oil on this shaft. So I just put a bit on the tip here, and it will eventually just run down the shaft. You don't want a lot. Like I said, you don't want it to get on the copper. Set it back in place. You'll feel it seat because it does have a couple of guides. There's an indentation here and here, and on the frame there is a coinciding one, and it just kind of sits in there perfectly. So now I'm just going to put the screws back in it. Tighten them up. And with these, I just seat them first. Get them both on. I just seat them against the cover and then just give them just a little as a tighten. Okay? Just a little twist, because this is some kind of fiberboard Bakelite combination thing, and it is brittle. It can get brittle, and they have snapped on me before, so I'd rather not try to find a whole new one of these and just be careful in the first place. So now we're going to go to the other side. This is the bearing plate, and we're going to take off these two screws. Take this plate off, and again, that's looking good. Sometimes these things are full of dog and cat hair and carpet lint and all kinds of things. And since this is a 1948 model, it's had a lot of time to build up a lot of gunk. Look at the teeth on these gears. Wow, that is something else. This is really cool. Okay, so pull out Grandpa's hair there. And I'm going to put some fresh grease on that while it's off. It doesn't really have a lot in the first place, and that's good. Usually when it's caked on, especially when they're this old, it just hardens up and causes a mess. You can actually bind up the gears. So I just put a little shot on it. Not a whole heck of a lot. And I just use wheel bearing grease on that one. And for the cover itself, same thing. I'm going to run some oil down this shaft. So just put it on like that. And then on the plate itself, I'll just get some right in there. Now the nice thing about these older models is they have this brass, bronze, I'm not sure exactly which one it is. I think it's brass. Anyways, they have this extra piece in them, which really works well in keeping this thing spinning smoothly. The newer ones do not have that. As you can see, it's very different. It doesn't have this little brass insert. And this does require frequent lubrication, where I notice these ones last a lot longer. Doesn't mean you should forget about them, but it's just a better system, I think. So we're going to put this all back together, like so. And again, I'm just going to seat it, give it a little extra twist to tighten it down. Don't need to reef on it. Give our wheels a spin. There's your smoke unit working. So again, as you can see, the smoke unit is pivoting on this bar here, whereas usually there's a whole assembly that gets knocked around in the piston area, and that's what pumps it up and down. So this is a little bit of a different method, and I think that's pretty cool. Looks like that's kind of dirty, so I'm gonna want to wipe that off to make sure it works smooth, or as best I can. Oh, there we go. Huh? This is the first time I've seen this type of setup for the smoke chamber, so that's pretty cool. We put the spring. Let's put the spring in the cup first. Get that spring out of the way as I slide this whole thing in here. Did I do it? That's it. All right, so that's good to go. So brushes, armature, clean, bearing plate done. That's all set. Let's have a look at the E unit itself. You can kind of see the drum in the back here. There is a series of fingers that run onto this drum that's inside there. And when you hit the direction controls on your transformer, it does something with electricity that goes through the E unit, and this cylinder goes click and back, or click and forward, and depending on what finger is touching where, that sets the direction of the locomotive. So that cylinder gets pretty dirty, or can. So what I'm going to do is I just want to have a quick look at it. I don't feel like doing a great big E-unit rebuild on this, so hopefully it's in as nice clean shape as the rest of this train, and I don't have to do anything to it. So I can see the cylinder. I don't know if you can see it on here, but it's right underneath this plate, and with my eyes I can see it, and it is in great shape. That is super clean. So I am not going to mess with this at all. I'm just going to tuck that back, put the screw back in it, and I'm going to call that done. I'm really happy with the purchase from this. And I got these locomotives off of Trains on eBay, TRANZ. And it was a great price for these two models. I'm so happy with both of them. Again, you can check out the clean and operation of the 1666 that this came with. So what I'm wondering now is whether I should pop this cover off and address this wire here. Because this thing is just, it's in such good shape. And I really would like to get rid of this electrical tape if I can. I'm going to try it. Let's see. So according to the Greenberg book, you put a slot screwdriver in here and you twist and lift, and this is supposed to pop out. Like, I'm already nervous about doing this. Oh, there's one popped out. Those tabs did not survive. Now let's see how much play I have to work with here. That's not bad. So there's the original wire, and there's its solder connection there. So that's, I can deal with that. That's good. I'm going to keep this original wire, get rid of this section going to the collector plate, and just replace that. Let's work this out. And I don't want to break the other end of this. I don't want to snap it off at the pickup there. Let's see what that bend looked like. Yeah, I think I can do that. Let's get it through there first. Boom. Very good. That. It's pretty much where it needs to be right now. Excellent. Let's connect these two ends. There it is. Okay, so we are now just going to tuck this back in. they just don't survive quite as well, but it's gonna have to do. I'm gonna call that good for now, because like I said, I don't want to break this thing. So I'm putting my shoe back in there. And I think though, just as a precaution, I am going to put a piece of electrical tape back on that just to seal that up. But I'm not going to put 62 pounds of it on like the previous repair had. One piece of electrical tape instead of 7. Now, basically, we're just ready to put this all back together because everything's looking good. So what we're going to do is the reverse of putting it in. So we've got the back pin here. There's the knurled edge I was talking about. So we are going to run the whole smooth edge through first. You can close up the wrench a little bit, put that down on it, and knock it back in with the ball peen as well. But you have to make sure it is lined up and is going to come through on the other side. It does tend to skew a little bit. And there it is home. Okay, so that's in. There we go. Now I can fish this wire for the headlight around. There we go. So that's all together. Now I'm going to throw in the rear truck. Go, tighten that down. That's done. Let's button it up by putting the arms back on it. So I need my collar and now lining this up. So the eccentric crank of the 1666 had that extra cast piece, and it did have some notches sticking out of the back of the eccentric crank piece that fit into the wheel. This one has this flattened end circle here that fits over this pin sticking out of the wheel. So it's a little easier to line up than the 1666 was. So there we go, that's tightened up. Let's bring it over to the other side and do the same thing here. Okay, so that's all back together. Oh, see, now we're jamming up here. So that means I have to take this one off and reposition it because it's not set properly. This happens a lot with the 2055 as well. So I'm going to back this off. And it's always good to do that, to check that before you drop these on the track and it starts to bind up. I want it this way. That's it. And that's it. Okay, so it's just making sure that those arms are in the right position, the cranks are in the right position. Okay, so he's all back. Let's get our test track. Make sure we've got them all back together good. See if that light comes on. Okay, so we've got 2026 all fixed up, but we've got an interesting problem that I want to show you guys. So I have the 2 test tracks here because I tested 2026 when he was done on the old tube style track, and then I brought him over to the fast track, and you'll see what happens. So first, on the tube style, we got power, we got a headlight, and I can hear the E unit clicking. We have a forward, and we have reverse. And a very smooth operation at that. No problem. Now, using the exact same transformer, which is this lousy little Marx one that I use, but does the job for this particular job. So now, I am going to place this locomotive on the fast track. No edits, straight over. And I'm going to switch the power supply over and we're going to apply the power. And I'll just get my hand here in there so you can see. We have an E unit. That's it. That's all he does. Now he starts shorting out. And now we got nothing. So that's the problem that I'm seeing happening between the tube track and the fast track just with this locomotive. Now, before you guys go all freaky and yeah, tube track's the way to go and fast track is garbage. No, I don't buy that at all. But what we got to find out is what's happening here. So clearly he works. Clearly the E unit is working. Clearly he's getting power through the whole locomotive. His light is lighting up. Everything's doing what it should do, except on the fast track. So what I'm kind of wondering is, are these shoes making a good enough contact with the track? And this one's kind of loose and floppy here. This one's got a nice spring to it. So I'm wondering if there's something here that we need to address. So I'm going to first start off with a simple repair, and the simplest being go through my parts bin and see if I've got another shoe in there and try that. Okay, so in my parts bin, I did find a spare 1666 motor. Now, this motor actually works. It works perfectly fine. But I'm going to steal one of the shoes off of it anyway, because they do have some wear, but they're still pretty decent. So, in order to get the shoes out, it's not hard at all. Just get yourself a flathead screwdriver, and when you look inside there, you will see the copper plate where the power wire is actually soldered to and where these shoes are clipped onto. And you can just lift that up and pull out the shoe. And there you go. So, first thing I'm going to do, and I'm thinking because this one's really sloppy, I'm going to start by taking it out. So I'm going to remove this rear truck as well because it's just going to make everything a lot easier. Lift that up. Pull this out. Now it's really not in bad shape, so it might be the actual copper contact itself. Or the other thing it could be is this isn't opened enough. So this part isn't making a good enough contact with the fast track. Okay. So what I'm going to start with, as the dog goes crazy upstairs, is let's just keep the original shoe and bring this foot down a little bit. But still nothing. So I'm thinking there is just a poor contact in between these shoes and the track itself. I think I'm going to have to take this out again, which I am very unhappy to do. At least I don't have to take the whole locomotive out, or the whole motor out. So here we go. Yeah. So if you can see it here, this is the end that's causing the problems, and that little strip isn't really pushing down on the shoe very hard. So I think it's kind of causing a short in the connection. So all the connection now elsewhere is good. How to bend that back down or put something in there that's going to help it. Try to angle it down a little bit more just to put a little bit more tension back on this shoe. That might have done it. So just lift it up. Okay, so what I ended up doing I just got my needle nose into this end of it and just bent it down a little bit. And as you can see, it's connecting against that shoe really well now. And that's all I need it to do. So, let's put this back in and see if that solved our problem. Maybe try to bring these shoes out a little bit more even so they have a better contact. Clean them up. See what we get going on there. Yep. Perfectly. Look at that. That is excellent. I am so happy. So, as you can see, there are a few things that you want to go through if your locomotive isn't actually running after you do a full clean. There's a couple of extra factors you have to think about. Is it tube track or is it fast track? Is it this pre-war, the shoes aren't making contact with the track? Is that why it's not running? Then there's, the more complex things. The E-unit is shot, the brushes are shot, the armature is shot. Of all of the locomotives I've had, it's always been something stupid simple, just like this. Go through process of elimination with these things. Start with your power source, go to your track, then go to the shoes, and work your way up. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this with a 2026. I'm going to throw them on the big track now, and let's send them around, maybe warm them up and see if the smoke unit kicks into gear. Okay, so we've got the 2026 back onto the track, and what I've done is I have actually set up a tube track for him. He does run on the fast track, but he doesn't navigate the switches of the fast track too well. So for the purpose of this video, I just thought I'd go back completely old school and put him on the tube track. So let's get him going, hook him up to some cars, and send him around and see how he does. All right, so that is the 2026, running really good, has an excellent smoke chamber. You probably saw that chuffing away. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification bell, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, have a good one.